Okay, we are now recording.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Alice.
So I'd like to read this poem, which was gifted to us for our wedding by Deb and Melissa, and it's by Mary Oliver, and it's called Don't Hesitate. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give in to it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crone.
That is,
Good,
there's a new Mary Oliver for me. What am I doing? I don't have a poem.
No, you just discuss how you felt when you listened to
I
it.
love that. It made me also think of a poem. I'm reaching the age where I lose words and stuff, and it's not likely one of yours, but hopefully. Her last line though is the joy that is not shared. Sorry about this because I'm not prepared. I wasn't prepared to do that, and it triggered that other poem.
Well, that's because
There's joy in all, and that's how the poem opens. But it also talks about joy shared is a very important thing, and I don't know who the two people are who gave it to you. So Melissa and
Deb and Melissa,
Deb.
the poetry lovers from work and friendship that
Yes.
also have the
print
that you have in your kitchen
of Annie and Rose. Yeah, so I'm developing more and more affinity for Deb and Melissa because of, the love of poetry, the love of that particular print for wherever we were when we came from, wherever we came from, to select that print. But shared joy. I don't know if you noticed in the upstairs bathroom, and it's a towel. I have two of those towels. They say joy, joy, joy on them, and they're supposed to be, I think, Christmassy towels. But now, whenever guests come, they are there subtly saying, I'm feeling joy because you are here, share with our place and our experiences here. So it took me far beyond, the occasion of your wedding and Mary Oliver's words. But start right out. Don't hesitate. Embrace the joy.
How about you, Albert?
Powerful poem, and one of the things that Marian brought to my life is that she likes to seize the moment and opportunity, to bring joy, and so that resulted in us getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go and look at some star that happened to be connected to another star for the only time in a century, and but it isn't the matter of that connection, but it's the process that we went through to do it. So it brings to mind one time that we were down in Marathon, Texas, and we were about as far away from lights. We went out in one of those, they have 1,000-acre fields down there in Texas, and those are the small ones. And anyway, we drove out. We got up at 2 o'clock in the morning. We drove all the way out in the middle of some Texas field, and I can remember lying down on the hood of our car, looking up at that celestial wonderment that was up there. It was powerful, and that was all because Marian reads and thinks about what's happening in her world that she wants to experience and bring joy. So anyway, that's what I think. Powerful. Thank you for that. That was a powerful
It's a
poem.
beautiful, beautiful one.
Powerful poem.
I'd like
And of
to
course, it's so poignant in terms of what's going on in the world today and how what we do tens of thousands of miles away from other people can have such an effect. You know, with the press of a button.
So I'd like to share a story about Sandy and Christine when Christine came up to Alaska to visit us when Zachary was quite young, and the same idea of joy. They decided to lay on our deck in the middle of summer, and in Alaska it doesn't get dark until 2 in the morning. So they're out there at 2 in the morning looking up, and they said, "Oh, we can see the northern lights," because there was a glow on the horizon, and
Yeah.
they were, exulting in the joy. And I said, "Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but those are the flares at the gas plant."
Ah, gee.
Well, we
That's
we
all
did
right.
at some point see northern lights, and we
Oh.
had one party after we had come back from Dutch Harbor and had won some sort of safety award. It was a huge party in Anchorage, and as we left the party, the northern lights were just some of the most spectacular I've ever seen.
Oh.
And so we were, even though we were in the city of Anchorage with some, light from the city and the buildings, that the northern lights just overpowered them. They were just fantastic.
There's something magical about the Northern Lights. We see them from time to time here. If we know that they're going to be coming, we can drive down the wharf and look up the lake and see them. But there was one time in my life when I felt as though I could actually hear them. I know you can't hear them, but I felt like I
Sure.
could. They were so brilliant, so there. So humankind really likes the night skies. Yeah.
What about you, Alice?
I had an image in mind of something you inspired, Albert, when you were sharing. When we were first getting together, I guess it was, probably the first summer, spring and summer that we were together. If there was a beautiful moon, I would invite you to walk backwards with me down the street so that we could keep looking at it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
I love the moon, and it's like those moments of joy and those moments of beauty. I love the title, Don't Hesitate.
Yeah,
Just go for it.
that's it. Go for it.
Well, Alice, on that experience, was that something that you had previously thought of, or did you just do that as the moment unfolded and you decided to react to it?
Oh, I used to do that a lot
Oh.
when I would be on walks. If the moon, if I couldn't see the moon walking forwards,
Mhm.
I would walk backwards so that I could. I mean, if I was on a street that was safe to do so.
That moment of joy only lasted an instant.
I was so involved in what I was thinking that I didn't get the juiciness of that. So thank you for reacting. Here's a question that I have regarding joy. Is joy, is true joy more likely to happen because of a good reaction that you have to the stimulation of what's occurring, as opposed to a planned event? And I'm thinking that the ability to react and change course to bring joy into your heart and being is something that some people don't have because they get fixed in the rut, so to speak. But to grab and seize that opportunity, is that how joy happens? Is because you're taking advantage of the now as opposed to planning ahead?
Can I share a moment of joy I used to have often in the oil field when I was working? in my particular job, I had to stay up quite long hours. You know, a job could take where I was awake for up to 20, 30 hours at a time. And typically, this would happen when I was offshore and dawn would come. DAWN, not DON. And I had been up all night and the job had gone well. I was successful in getting the information that we needed and the client was happy. And I would now be putting away my equipment in the early morning light. And I would walk to the side of the rig, say thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just a nice moment of completion and just feeling good about myself, good about life.
Yeah.
Happy to be alive.
Yeah.
Even though I was exhausted. Does that make sense?
Well, and that reminds me of a quote that I have pondered over time. It was part of an article that I read years ago, but C.S. Lewis said, "Joy is a painful desire. Joy is a piercing. Joy is a piercing desire, both painful and sweet."
Mm.
And I at first I wanted to disagree with that because I don't think of joy and pain together. And yet it's like joy is that it pierces you,
Oh yeah.
and
Phases you.
it can be painful. Even something that's exciting in a positive way can be kind of painful. But I think that's a brilliant quote and something that I reflect on from time to time.
I'm still processing.
Okay, you let
because
us know when
there's some
you're
other
ready.
things going regarding joy, sharing joy, and moving forward from.
So one experience that Albert, Marian, and I went through was Sandy getting sick and taking care of her. And even though that was painful, we had some joyous moments. I know you and I did, Albert. That we bonded, and we couldn't have bonded in that way without that experience. And you're here now because Sandy has moved on. So,
But she's still with us.
and she's still with us. The fact that we can all talk about her.
I saw a picture of her over there, and I said hello to her. And
Dawn took that picture. I love it. The one that's backlit behind her, up there on the. Is that a picture or did you see
photograph?
Oh.
The photograph under
the one underneath her?
underneath.
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
has her.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. And seeing Chandler after he's lost Nita,
Yeah,
and he's still able to laugh and
yeah.
enjoy life, even though he's had a couple strokes. Isn't able to. He's down to 50%, as he said.
Oh, but his 50% is
Still pretty
something
high.
else. Yeah, yeah. He's still somebody that we treasure seeing and treasure having known. And there's a I don't know if you could call her a blog writer, but she shared with her reading audience a statement that death leaves a heartache that no one can heal, but love leaves memories that no one can steal. And you know, there are other sayings basically that say, if you could have, um, one great moment in time but never be able to remember it, would you take that? No,
No.
no, I would not. I would take, piercing joy, the continual opportunities for joy, to um, to move forward. My life has changed because of the people that I've known and loved and lost.
It's funny that you say it in that way because, or that quote, because I often forget about something that was joyous, and then something happens, especially when you're with your friends or your loved ones, and something sparks that memory, and it comes back to you, and you go, "Oh my God, yeah, I remember that."
Yeah.
the joy it brings again.
It does,
May you remember it.
yeah.
Albert?
That's one of the things that I'm struggling with in a big way, and collectively, Marian and I are having a wicked hard time getting rid of material things, because material things are often, they bring remembrance to a joyous, I don't know the difference between exceedingly pleasurable and joyous experience. And so we are inundated with reminders of pleasurable experiences. And it's a struggle, because a lot of those are only connections that we have. And that we know that when they're left for other people to have to deal with,
It's
it's not gonna have any
joy.
meaning. Now, before this started, I was doing one of my yep, because a big vehicle came into Norcross, and that took me back to when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and my grandmother always kept cracking. Was coming, who's here now, and so forth, and what are they here for? And blah, blah, blah. And I was telling Alice that we had a gated community. There was a chain across the track, and it was on a little, it was on a, the key, there was a key on a chain. Chain was about that big, and key on the end of it. And as soon as I could walk and so forth, my grandfather would say, Albert, take the key over. And I'd go across the track and give the people who were coming into Norcross the key. Then they had to give it back to me. And, and then I'd bring it back and give it to my grandfather. I can't find it. And anyway, I told Alice, I kept, so that, but I had so many joyous experiences with my grandmother and grandfather, and no, it's hard to let go of those things.
Yeah.
And of
We will
course,
find it. We will find that key, because I've got a picture of it now in my head.
the chain, it was,
It was just a loop with the key on it.
yeah, the loop is a chain itself.
It's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Your grandmother's name was Kate,
Yeah.
and your grandfather's name was John?
Albert.
Albert, your
Yeah.
name for your grandfather.
Yeah, I was named
Albert
for my
Francis
grandfather.
Yeah.
was his grandfather, and he's Albert Lee.
Yeah, yeah. When I was, so I was an only, I was an only in the house child in this, because my brother was born with a birth defect, and he spent a lot of time in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Wow, that's a
The Shriners
place
was,
away.
yeah. I mean, the majority of his early childhood life was spent in an institution, hospital.
Operation after
Operation after operation after operation, trials, experiments. Some things work, some things don't.
He's our exemplar of courage.
He's one of our joint heroes.
Yeah.
You know,
He lives in Texas.
he lives in
does.
Texas, and he's a remarkable human being.
Yeah.
And his son now is an Air Force pilot.
Air Force
He's an
pilot.
Air Force pilot in Japan.
They're stationed in Japan right now.
Yeah, and yeah. Well, anyway, blah 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 blah. But
That's
thank you.
right.
That was a powerful. Thank you, Mary Oliver,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and thank you, Alice.
And I also have the poem that Marian chose for us,
Uh-huh.
if you want more.
Well, let's read it, but we don't have to discuss it
We
near
can
as
kind
much
of
because
Make
we're
that,
on 15 minutes.
So
yeah.
So let's read it just because Marian provided it.
we're reading it, but just reflecting on it.
A very short reflection.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic. It's exactly what exceeds expectations.
Well, there are also themes in this poem that have already been touched on in our
Absolutely.
conversation. This one is by Clementine von Radix.
I think I'd do that, or radix, or
Radix.
radish.
Radix.
It sounds sort of Middle European.
And the poem is called Mouthful of Forevers. I am not the first person you loved. You are not the first person I looked at with a mouthful of forevers. We have both known loss like the sharp edges of a knife. We have both lived with lips more scar tissue than skin. Our love came unannounced in the middle of the night. Our love came when we'd given up on asking love to come. I think that has to be part of its miracle. This is how we heal. I will kiss you like forgiveness. You will hold me like I'm hope. Our arms will bandage, and we will press promises between us like flowers in a book. I will write sonnets to the salt of sweat on your skin. I will write novels to the scar of your nose. I will write a dictionary of all the words I have used trying to describe the way it feels to have finally found you. And I will not be afraid of your scars. I know sometimes it's still hard to let me see you in all your cracked perfection, but please know, whether it's the days you burn more brilliant than the sun, or the nights you collapse into my lap, your body broken into 1,000 questions, you are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I will love you when you are a still day. I will love you when you are a hurricane.
Well done.
That-
Thank you, Marian.
Well, it's spoke
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
I ran around Ithaca trying to get that printed off.
Yeah,
And-
we tried to find a place where we could get the right kind of paper, and there's that little artisan, um, note paper shop or whatever.
Oh, Mockingbird Papery?
I think that
They
might
don't
be
do
it.
printing.
No, but we were trying to find the right paper as well,
I see.
and we didn't find the
It
perfect.
did not
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
Did
So we're
not
still
matter.
working on that. But to me, it fits you guys.
And again, the healing power of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do mean to bring it back to Sandy because she's why we're all here. Can you share the story about Sandy and I arriving on the Harley Davidson? I want to hear it from what your perspective, because my memory, I'm sure, is different from what yours
I've
is.
heard the story.
Well, it's for me, it's not a flow. It's a there they are at the back door at 219 Katahdin
In Millinocket.
in Millinocket, the house that I grew up in, and then the house that Albert and I moved into when we went to Millinocket to begin our working careers. And so we didn't completely raise our children there, but for a lot of time, we were there with our own 3 children. And Sandy would show up from time to time. And this time she showed up with this guy on a motorcycle. And from my college days, I've really liked riding on motorcycles. I had a crush on a guy that had a motorcycle. I think he had a BMW. But it was the motorcycle, it was the act of riding around with the wind. That was pre-helmet days. Anyway, you guys showed up, and by that time, I think it had been established that I kind of like to go for a ride on a motorcycle. So somebody suggested that Dawn take Marian for a ride on the motorcycle. So, yes. And then off we went. And somewhere along the ride, we paused.
Do you know why we paused?
No, I don't. Why did we stop?
Oh,
In my recollection, which may not be the truth,
Did I have to pee?
no, you said, would you pull over the motorcycle, please, and turn it off?
So I really wanted to talk seriously.
Oh, yes.
Oh, even at that point.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had never met each other.
No, we had not.
Yeah,
You were the guy she ran off to.
we had not left.
You hadn't left for Alaska yet.
That was the plan, as we were saying, we came to Maine for me to meet everyone before we took off to Alaska. So my recollection is you asked that we pull over and turn the motorcycle off and take our helmets so we could have a conversation. And then you you spoke to me. Do you remember what your gist of the
The
conversation?
gist of the conversation was how dear Sandy was to me. Um, I was 16 when she was born. I was one of her very early principal babysitters when I was in high school. And our paths crossed a lot.
All right.
And
And she lost her mother, and you helped.
I helped
through that
raise,
period.
yeah, I stayed for a while, taking care of her and her older brother while, it was even during her mother's illness, then her subsequent passing. And my younger sister Barbara uh, tends to be overshadowed, but she was a huge pop. She played a big role in that too.
Yeah. And we have to recognize that.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, so we had two Barbaras, and then my younger sister Barbara married a man named Dick. So, geez, we always had, for a while, we had two Dick and Barbs. Big Barb and Little Barb. Anyway, back to why did I make him stop the motorcycle? Because, Dawn, she really means a lot to me.
You said that?
I want to know, what are your intentions?
That's exactly what you said.
What are
That's what I
your
remember.
intentions?
And that made me smile so big when you said that.
I did not do that with my own children.
I know.
When they were
I know.
going out with people.
I was,
I didn't ask
didn't
what
laugh.
they were
I smiled.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'll take good care of her. And if we continue to feel the same way about each other, we'll probably get married. If not, I'll send her home safe and sound.
I didn't remember all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the intent was there.
Yes.
But I think
I
what
felt-
what- I think
I
what
think
felt
you
good,
also
that you
said-
felt good about was that I smiled. I
You
didn't get upset. I smiled that you would ask that question.
And you did say, I love her.
Yes.
And that was big.
Yep.
That was big. So, yep. And then, whew, I've been asked a few times, what are some of your regrets in life? My regrets that I never got to Alaska.
Yeah, I think
When
you
you guys
had a
were
good
up
time.
there, I know I would have.
What?
And I never got to Alaska when they lived up there.
Yeah.
It just, well, our
Mo-
own ties of family and work just felt a bit insurmountable at that time. And she had you guys had a tremendous help out network, support network among the people that you were near and worked with.
You know, Alaska?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it was really big. I think I felt comforted from that. So, yeah.
So, well, when Sandy passed, I knew for myself that I needed to love somebody.
Yeah.
I needed somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. She made that
Yeah.
um
Oh.
she made that happen for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But one of Sandy's favorite things that she'd say to me when I do something crazy or stupid or was gone for a long time, she'd say, you know, when you die, I'm going to marry somebody else.
I got a side story.
I would
on
say
that
it
one.
differently. I would say, Dawn, when you kill yourself.
Well, that was fine.
Meaning accidentally.
Accidentally.
I didn't mean to die.
I just fell off that cliff.
Oh my gosh.
So I know frankly why I am grateful that Marian did not go to Alaska.
Mm.
Because having found out last night that one of your Alaska adventures was to decide that you wanted to try at 9 degrees a plunge into water with your motorcycle so that you had to fish out the motorcycle,
Oh, geez, I remember hearing that.
rig it dry, and then crank for 20 or 30 minutes. I don't think she would have survived that.
No.
So thank God she
Oh
didn't
my
go to
gosh.
Alaska.
No.
Yeah, that would have been a bad ride for
That wasn't an intention.
That would have
you.
been.
No, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Hey, it's
Yeah.
Have you ever had some conversation with Barbara's son, Eric? Eric Powers has had some interesting
No,
adventures with vehicles into bodies of water.
Not so much with Eric, but I have with Tom. Tom is
Tom likes.
Tom
Yeah.
likes to tell Eric stories.
Stories.
Yeah.
Let
I
me
hope
tell you,
doing that, Eric. I need to get some of your stories.
well, one of Tom's favorite, I only heard this lately, was that when he was talking about fear, and, doing things that are scary, is he said, well, when I was growing up, my cousin Eric was a year younger than me, but I always would kind of stand aside and watch, and if Eric survived, then I'd figure I could do it.
So,
Holy cow, Eric, but I love him. He's guided his son, Owen, into being an Eagle Scout, and that's remarkable, that you
And-
do that.
And we have to recognize Marissa,
That's,
because Marissa
she is.
and
something.
Owen, because between them,
Yeah.
between them all,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, Owen,
yeah,
you're amazing.
you are. You are.
Efren, you're awesome too.
Yes, yeah. In your own way, you are something else too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
And Alex got to meet them.
Yeah, we spent the night with them.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right. On the other trek, right?
On a road,
a road
shorter road trip.
Yeah. Weren't you swapping vehicles?
Sold
Yes.
my
Yeah.
red van and bought the gray van. Bought Johanna.
Johanna Van Gogh.
I'd like to say a couple things, Don, at the
Yes.
point that is appropriate, and
Say it.
I've selected this point.
Dive in.
Sidebar.
Jump in.
But back to the bike ride and the what are your intentions? This is my memory of it, and
Yeah.
is that Marian came back and gave a report, and my image is that you guys drove out to the west, out toward Norcross, and
I think
came.
we did.
And this is what I think she told me. This is what I feel she told me. That she went out there and we turned around and basically I got the idea that it was somewhere around the Green Bridge.
Mhm, Exactly.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we went across the Green Bridge
Yeah.
when we were a little there, and this is the image that I've always had in my brain. And that at that point, she had her arms around holding you.
Yeah.
And leaned into your ear, and there wasn't very much preparation for what she was going to ask, the question she was going to ask. It was something along the lines as Sandy is a really important person. What are your intentions? And
Yep.
something.
That
That's very accurate.
I think both of us, we all agree on that particular
Yeah.
part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I heard that in the kitchen at 219
I-
Garden Avenue.
Have that one
Yep.
being,
You have that image as well.
what's that telling us?
That's telling us.
But
what
I-
we're doing. Can you pause there?
Yeah, I want to go back to
I mean,
something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have to
Used to have-
catch everything on camera.
No, we don't have to have it on camera.
Well,
There's
you
one
know
more.
what? We can keep going with this and that one's.
The director,
Oh, is
the
that one
director
going?
does have to have everything on camera, I think.
No, go keep going.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I just want to, I just want to say that it's interesting to me that Sandy was my first daughter.
Yeah.
Didn't have any biological children, so she was my first daughter. And, she was, of course, our fourth child.
Yeah.
And what I find is absolutely incredible is there wasn't one moment from the time I met this lady that I didn't feel like she was right for right for me. And that was a pretty big deal because
Well, it was huge.
and
Yeah.
you're just special.
Yeah.
Like, you're just,
On too.
and I don't know how I could lose her and be so grateful that I have you, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow.
um,
I was,
Does the city have of the piercing tour?
Yeah.
yeah, the
It is,
piercing
it is,
joy.
it is.
Yeah.
you're one.
Well, you too, and I just had a conversation with Zach not long ago about how special the two of you are and the family, and how much I was looking forward to spending more time here, and that there's just something so palpable about the love and the acceptance and warmth and genuineness that you just melt into it and it feels so good. Thank you.
I love
Me
it.
and you.
I love that you melt into it. Even in 20-degree, 10-degree weather outside, we're warm here.
Yeah, cold, even with cold feet.
Yeah.
No, this was great. Thank you for doing this.
Is the
guys.
camera still rolling?
That one is.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Just the audio still?
And the audio is being recorded on these guys and I can get it off.
The little.
Ah, boy,
footballs.
we can only watch this one.
Little
One.
footballs.
Wow, this would be a hard one to watch again.
Yeah.
Well, I have one more poem I'd like to share because of the content, but also the language. I think you're just going to love this because of the words and how they flow. It's just, may I? One more, and not to
Absolutely.
discuss, just to
No.
share it. This one was from Stephanie and Gary.
Okay.
Stephanie is a colleague of mine from the counseling center.
Okay.
We became friends and have stayed friends, and she and her partner Gary host game nights. They have a group in person, but during COVID they hosted them online, and everybody joined this online board game app. I don't know what you call it.
Oh.
Site,
Well,
a
it's
website.
Board Game Arena is. the
Board Game
website.
Arena, and
That's
and
fine.
we just, we've been part of that. And so anyway, I did not know Stephanie loved poetry so much, but this is really, I love this poem. It's called The Hush of the Very Good by Todd Boss. You can tell by how he lists to kiss him, that the getting, as he gets it, is good. It's good in the sweety, salty, deeply thirsty way that a sea-fogged rain is good after a summer-long bout of inland drought. And you know it when you see it, don't you? How it drenches what's dry, how the having of it quenches. There is a grassy inlet where your ocean meets your land, a slip that needs a certain kind of vessel. And when that shapely skiff skims in at last, trimmed bright, mast lightly flagging left and right, then the long, lush reeds of your longing part, and soft against the hull of that bent wood, almost imperceptibly brushes a luscious hush. The heart heeds helplessly, the hush of the very good.
That was alliterative.
Yeah, isn't that? I just think that's
Holy cow.
a very
wonderful
poem.
Wonderful choices of word. Really. I'm envious. I don't like him. That he's been able to do
Oh, I know.
beautiful things with finding the words and then positioning the words.
Yeah.
Just thinking in terms of constructing the poetry to make it really, really, really there.
This is the card, which I just love. It's a stenciled card. There's another poem that she included, but I like this one
See,
the best.
what was it?
That one's nice too. So,
Really neat.
So one of the movies that we like to watch are the Jesse Stone series with Tom Selleck.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
And the cinematography of the shoreline with the fog and Jesse and his dog walking across the bridge, to me, is just the simplicity, but the amazing cinematography of it is gets to me every time.
Gets to you.
Because it reminds me of Maine
Yep.
and New England.
Yep. Belfast, Deer Isle. Oh, this has been wonderful.
Yeah.
Really wonderful.
Well, thank you, folks.
Thank
We're going
you.
to sign
Choosing.
off.
thank you.
Thanks for
Yeah.
choosing that we do this.
You guys will be the first to see it, and we can make edits if necessary. But the crying staying, Albert, I'm just saying.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Wow, this would take this